Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at this time, at this hour, on the Slow Parenting Program and Nostalgia Media. Thank you so much for finding time to be part of our show today. It's another day for enlightening perspectives as far as some specific issues in parenting are concerned. Thank you so much from wherever you're joining us across the globe. You're most welcome. It is that time we look at the issues that might be troubling us in some ways as we do our parenting job, or these issues are troubling us as we look up to our parents or we react or respond to one issue or the other concerning our relationships with our parents or our children. So welcome today on the Slow Parenting program. My name is Richie Adewusi. This is still Nostalgia Media that brings to you the Slow Parenting program every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and then 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. Today, we are looking at the issue of giving. Yes, you had me right, giving, okay? Giving and looking at giving too as a tool in family bonding, okay? It's a cultural thing, okay? It's a cultural thing, but at the same time, it's a personal thing. It's a human thing to give, okay? But then when we try to situate, when you try to situate the issue of giving within the ambits of parent-child relationship, parent-child communication, in certain environments, it begins to look like a party is doing enough, the other party is not doing enough with regards to parents or the children doing enough or not doing enough about the giving. So today we are looking at a specific issue. There's a video that's, once again, is about another video online that's gone viral about a thought, a concept, a viewpoint, a perspective that parents whose children, especially from places like Africa, whose children are outside of in diaspora actually, consider, some of the parents consider their children as stingy, okay, as not being responsive to their need. So a young lady did a video to try to disprove that, to say that it's not true that young people or children who have parents who are in diaspora but have parents who are still back in Africa in places like Nigeria, that they're not stingy, that it's just the way the societies in which they reside have been structured so that they are responding to the dictates of those societies. And then it takes us back to the whole issue of parenting ab initio. It takes us back to the issue of how did we relate as these children were growing up? What kind of relationship would we have with them? So today we're going to delve into that very issue of hospitality, you know, that now grows to become what we know as hospitality within most cultures in Africa. Why we welcome people, why we give, why we share, okay, is a cultural thing, okay? It also needs to be a human thing, okay? So don't run away. This is still the Slow Parenting program. When I return, I should introduce to you our resource persons as they join us, okay? Don't go away. My name is still Richie Adewusi. See you after this break, okay?
The original Nigerian pepper soup. I tell you, like it, you love it.
That's fish soup right there, man. Get that. That's very good. Super spicy, super tasty.
We can put the authentic African spot on it.
It makes it very tasty.
Hello, welcome back. It's still the Slow Parenting program. My name is still Richie Adewusi. Welcome back from that short break. On the edition today, we are looking at the issue of bonding and giving. Okay, the backdrop to our story today or show today is, the idea that some children, I don't want to say children generally, so that we're not using a one-size-fits-all kind of agbada for everybody. Okay, that some children abroad living in diaspora are stingy when it comes to the issue of giving to their parents. And our backdrop, our backstory is the video a young woman made and that has gone viral on social media, trying to defend this positioning of or the position that or present a perspective which seems to suggest that it is not true. The children are not stingy. It's just that they are responding to situations and circumstances that surround the places where they live, meaning the countries in which they reside. And she goes ahead to give examples about how those societies are structured in such a way that when people start work, they can save, they can for pension, they can invest. And it looks to me that it was a little bit of mixing, issues up, really. But the message was clear. She was trying to defend children parents who had children in diaspora. Was trying to defend some of those children as to so much as saying that the reason for which they cannot or are not giving or should not give to their parents is because their parents should have worked. That's the argument, that the parents should have protected or provided or saved enough to take care of themselves in old age. That is a very easy thing to say, very interesting thing to say. But I think that that's a little bit of a mixed up, misplaced perspective. Because number one, what is our culture in relation to what our responsibilities to our children? What should our responsibilities to our children be? what should our responsibility to our parents be? Okay? What should our responsibility as children be to our parents that would have worked, toiled to train us to go to school, maybe graduate, maybe start work, maybe even sponsored us to travel to get to be in those countries that we live now. Maybe they did not. Maybe they are not the ones who sponsored us to travel to live outside of the country. But the fact remains that we have parents who had brought us up, who maybe sent us to school, trained us, and then we are now in places maybe where, assumedly, the situations we might be in better positions maybe to support them, to give to them. And somebody is saying that, well, those parents should have saved enough because in the Western world, the society is structured in such a way that parents start saving, get pensions, and that's why I said that it is mixed. I mean, the issues are mixed up. I'm not alone normally on this program. Sorry, I'm not alone, not usually alone. So I'm going to be introducing our other resource persons. At this time, we're being joined by Professor Oyewole Sarumi. Professor Sarumi, you're welcome to the program. And we're also being joined at this time.
It's a pleasure being here.
Welcome, sir. Sorry about that breaking transmission, so it's choking a little bit. Okay, we also want to welcome Mrs. Ade, excuse me, Mrs. Adedoyin Sholat. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that is our backdrop for today. It's about this whole concept that some parents or parents are maybe in their later years, in their old age, need not depend on their children, for support in their old age, especially their children who are in diaspora. The excuse being that, like it is in some societies, if not most, some societies, not most, in the North, that's in diaspora, that parents start saving up enough, pensions and all of that, which would help them to sustain themselves as they grow old. That then the children now who would have now traveled and now working in some of these places are right not to look to, support their parents because their parents should have done things to support themselves so that in old age they don't have to depend on their children. Professor Oyewole, please, what's your view about that?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Richie. For me, that is anathema. Is in our culture here in Africa. We always say that there is a rat called Okete, and we say that it is the breast of Okete that his children will be taking or will be drinking. For us in Africa, it is customary for our children to return favor to us at old age by, giving upkeeps to their parents. So, because generally in Africa, the pension and all of those things that aged people depend upon is meager, and sometimes it's not even available. So customarily and traditionally, children have been, wired to always care for their aged parents, send them upkeeps. And of recent, I have to come into a situation like this that came up with a friend of mine whose children were overseas, and he's a bit older than mine. He's a bit older than me, and so the children left him. He didn't get his pension, and so I was with him when one of his children called from overseas, and I spoke to the man, and I said, "You need to take care of your father. Please, can you talk to one of my sons?" And I told him, because they grew up together, and I said, "Please talk to one of my sons about this, and let him give you his perspective." I'm saying this because it happened, and the father, that's my friend, called me recently and said, what did you tell my son?" I said, "I didn't tell him anything other than he should talk to his friend, which is one of my sons." And one of my sons spoke to him, and I said, "You should ask him," because he said since that phone conversation, he had been, because I told him, I said, if it is just $20, you can be sending to your father. Will that remove anything from your, or even $50? At the end now, he is sending regularly to his father between 100 and 150. And the father is quite surprised. And I said, "No, I didn't say much. And I think my son did all the talk." So I'm still working. I'm not retired. But my children has not left me alone. They didn't. All of them keep, giving. I'm still working. I'm still agile.
If I might ask, Professor Adewusi,
so
what would you think that is responsible for your children keep giving to you?
I taught my children giving right from when they were with me. They knew that daddy gives. We give in our home a lot. It's not issue of church issue, but in terms we give in the street, they see it. We give clothes out. We give food to the elderly. We do that regularly. They participate in it. They do everything with us. So they had imbibed that right from, we didn't sit down to teach them, but they saw us doing it. Right from the time they were young, they saw doing it.
But that meant you taught them. When you say you didn't teach them, you did teach them.
When I say we didn't sit them down, but they saw it in our lives. They were even participants, and so they imbibe it. So, and they also see people who benefited, how they show gratefulness and what have you. So I'm sure quite a lot of those things work together. I didn't ask any of them to be giving me anything, but they on their own. So so if we model it, or even if we teach them, I mean, in terms of talking to them about it, I didn't talk to them about it, but they could see it in my lifestyle and what have you, that I give a lot. And so, and I think that's what my second son now spoke to the boy, to the man, And the man changed completely. Instead of sending $50 or $20, I suggested, he's sending not less than 150, around between 100 and 150 to his father now. For the past 3 months, he has started. And regularly, he will just greet me, say, Daddy, I just need to thank you, this and that. And that's just it. So it depends on children. Some of them who are in diaspora, they look at it as a burden, and then because they are copying the wrong culture of that place. There are good culture in that place, but we shouldn't copy some of the culture that is not in sync with our own. So I don't see anything wrong with that. So I believe that children need to, stretch forth hand of giving to their parents. Not even parents, it could even be anybody around.
Anybody,
Yeah.
really.
That's
That's a
just it.
culture. That's a culture. That's why I started by how did we now develop this whole thing called hospitality of the Nigerian or of the African now? People don't come to your house and you won't give them food to eat, or you're going to give them something
That's our
without them
culture
asking.
from ab initio. That's our culture, sir.
That's what I'm saying, sir. That's a culture. That's why we said this is a culture of giving. Okay, it's a tradition of bonding. Okay, now again, sir, even the story you told about yourself and your friend and the son and your son, there are lots of takeaways there. Okay, your children saw you, doing some things, even without them sitting in a classroom, as in classroom, being tutored by your wife and yourself. They saw what you did. They saw what you are doing. They took off, and like you've said, you are still working. They didn't say, "Oh, daddy has money, daddy has salary." No, it is, and that is the cross of things. Okay.
I am here. I
Now,
am here today. Sorry for Monday.
Now to look at this from another perspective. The example, before I go to Mrs. Ishola with this, the example that the young woman gave in the video is like, oh, in the West, they have pension, they have this, that. Now, even from that perspective, even parents who have worked, because first of all, in a place like Nigeria, you don't have anything called pension unless you work in the private public sector. Okay, unless you work for the government, there's nothing like, you don't have anything like pension. If you worked within the private sector, you don't have pension. You don't. It's not structured. It's not, in a place like Canada, for instance, whether you work for government or you work for in the public or private sector, you have a pension guaranteed up to when you come to certain age, so long as you are working and you are making contributions because as you are paid your salary, deductions are made from your salary and they are deposited in specific places. That is a structured environment. That's not what obtains in Nigeria, for instance. That's not what obtains in Nigeria. Even in situations where people are retired as public servants, civil servant, public servants, most of them do not get their pension. We've had stories of people who have gone for pension verifications and all of that, who have died, die in the queues or while they are waiting to be verified and all of that, to collect a pension of how much. But that's like jumping it. Let's get back to the cultural issues that were raised. Okay? It still goes back to the whole issue of parenting. When you have parented, when you are parenting your children with your cultural, religious, traditional, ethical values as their backdrop, as the curriculum for the training, giving is part of that curriculum. Giving is part of that curriculum. My mother used to tell us a story, and I saw it because at the time when she was telling us those stories, Our father was nowhere near us. It was during the Civil War in Nigeria. Okay? We were with our mother throughout the period of the Civil War. Our mother will want to tell us how important family is and how important our father took family. Our mother will say, look, your father, he will not eat unless his siblings had been served. His own siblings, my father's siblings that lived with my parents. That, that's one. We learned that we saw our mother would not have told part of that story, of these stories in the course of this program. Our mother might not follow us even when she's not a good time with her own parents. Every holiday, she would package us and package her shoppings for her father, her mother, uncle this, aunt that, from Port Harcourt, and put us in the train and would arrive at the station of the town where our grandparents lived. And they would come for us at the train station. And all of the packages she has, made in the name of each individual would be given to them. We saw that growing up. When I grew up, when I had my own family, it became a pilgrimage that every holiday we would be shop. This is for mama, and the children get into the car, get into whatever, would drive those long, many kilometers to travel from Lagos to the southeastern part of Nigeria to go to and then we'll give. And this is why I'm telling this story now. It's not about what I did for my parents or what I didn't do for my. This is the story now. Our mother would, by the time we are preparing to leave, she would go into her suitcases and take gifts and give to our wives and say, okay, take this. Even the ones that are not there, that didn't travel to be there with us, she will go and bring and give. And whatever you brought for her, even before she puts them away into anything, she's there, she's distributing, she's dividing, and then giving to other, even just neighbors, not even just family members. And now, somebody is making a video justifying children whose maybe excuses for not looking after their parents in old ages because they say, according to her, the parents should have saved enough. Save enough in which society, in which condition, in which pension scheme? Boluwatiwe Ayopaleke, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everyone.
Well, you came in at a very, very good time. So I'm coming over to you now. Please, would it be thought appropriate that we now make our aged parents who are not with us in diaspora, and don't make any mistake about my using the word diaspora. By diaspora, I mean who are not living with them in the same town, in the same villages where they live, not just not living in the same country now, okay? By believing that, oh, our parents should have done enough to have saved enough for themselves so that they don't have to depend on me, and now I have my own problems to face. You should have your own problem. Would that be a good disposition when it comes to our relationship with our parents in terms of caregiving?
Great question, sir. Okay, so I'll say this, that no human relationship, in my opinion, should have that dynamic where one feels burdened by the other. Burden of any sort is not a positive thing, as much as lies within you, right? So whether it's parents to children, children to parents. But the reality of it, however, is that there will be times in our lives where we will lean more towards one another than we would want to. Children automatically rely almost absolutely on their parents for guidance, for strength, for all sorts, for the better parts of their early years, right? 0 to 10. And then the thing is, even we always say that parenting never ends, yes? So no matter how old a child is, the parents it's still their job to worry, to be anxious and things like that. So that's the critical part for parenting. Then for children, it appears that children feel like their parents do not need them. But beyond money now, there's a lot more emotional support, psychological support. I even dare to say that many of us that are, in quotes, and good parents are perhaps the way we are because of our children. Let me try and rephrase that. Like, the desire to be a great parent is because of your children. So your children are influencing you already. You are leaning on them almost already because you feel like you want to give them a good future. So it's such a mutually beneficial relationship that I think it's unfair to make parents at any age or stage of their lives to now become villains just because they rely. I don't want to use the word rely, but maybe lean on their kids once in a while for some type of support, whether emotional, psychological, medical, whatever it is. Because in life, even friendships, any kind of relationship really should be mutually beneficial. So more specifically now, to answer your question about whether it's that's how it should be, like should parents feel a certain way, or should parents be castigated for wanting to rely on their children or lean on their children for any kind of need? I think the answer is no. They really shouldn't. You shouldn't even feel like that. That it's foreign to us as Africans. Well, let me be more specific. It's foreign to us as Nigerians, because I don't know about the whole of Africa. It's foreign to us as Nigerians to have your children feel like you are disturbing them. Because some parents have money. Money is not even the problem. And yet they still have children that are not available to them in whatever way. And that's painful because you feel as if, and this is not, again, I think communication will just ease things, maybe. And then we always say about popular culture that sometimes you hear things in the media, you hear things, and then it's just so subtle that it conditions you and brainwashes you almost to start believing that they've come. They tell you something about, maybe they went for a medical checkup and these were the results, and your antennas are up high. You're already assuming, mommy, daddy was asking for money. It's just people that really love each other trying to, inform each other about how their lives are going. So I think it's a very selfish perspective to have for either parents or children when you come to a place where you feel like your children are bothering you, or vice versa. Again, except if it is very obvious, where hard conversations need to be had. But other than that, I think it's very unfair for either party in any kind of relationship dynamic to say that one person is disturbing you, burdening you. Relationships are not meant to be like that, no.
Thank you so much, Bolu. Let me kind of tweak that question a little bit more. I'm still with you, Bolu. Now, let's say that I'm a parent. Okay, yes, I think so. I think I'm a parent. Yes, I am. Yes. Okay. And I'm a parent. And then I have children that are grown. And I say, oh, okay, because I'm going to get to old age and I will need, and I do not send them to school. I do not take care of them. I'm like, okay, look, I need to save. Put in another way. I'm caught between conscientiously saving for that old age, for which parents have been blamed now to say, well, if you were wise, you would have kept enough aside, sorry. to take care of yourself in old age. Now, in a place like Nigeria, because we need to be specific now, we need to be environmentally specific. In a place like Nigeria, what would be the percentage of the parents who could be in that position of, after paying their children's school fees, feeding, and all other domestic things, have anything, and I mean anything, to put aside for that old age thing, for which there's this blame now. If you had planned your life well, you wouldn't be able to be wanting to depend on your children in old age. What would be the percentage of the parents who are in a position to do that in a place like Nigeria, for instance, Bolu? Hello, Bolu.
I'm laughing because that's a hard statistic to come, to put out, because I have no empirical data to lean towards, but based on, a small sample size of, say, a few people that I've met in my lifetime, maybe a few hundreds, right? Out of the few hundreds, I would say barely 20%, maybe 15 even, that actually have capacity and their old age to still be able to earn money or be able to say, okay, well, if I even using myself as...
We're having some technical issues with Bolu's audio. Yeah. Sorry. Bolu, we're having some audio issues with your contribution. Okay. We're having some audio issues with Bolu. Okay. We've also lost Professor Yowale here. I think there are some technical
example of one. Children coming, my savings.
Okay, Bolu, if you don't mind, we lost you there. Okay, we didn't. We were not able.
Me.
We can hear you now. We were not.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind, if you could just
dial back, right?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that I was talking about sample sizes. Yeah, to your question, and I said I would go with maybe a 15 or a 20, again, based on the very few people that I've met in my life, which is just a few hundreds, right? But that even beyond that, if I were to go to me as a sample of one, I would say that, when the kids were between 0 and 6, or less under 10, my husband and I could say, we're saving like 35% of our income, for the rainy day. We're living a very decent life, giving them all that they needed and everything. As they grew older into their twins and teens, the money that you're making is no longer at par with the expense, and the living conditions that you have to make, even when you have reduced your condition of living very remarkably. And then you now start touching your savings. After a while, your savings have gone from that something percent to 0%. You can't even save. And then you're now taking out of the savings that you have saved in the past for the future, if that makes sense. You start taking out of it. And then before you know what's happening, you're almost in like some type of quagmire where you're like, wow, where did all the savings go? And I know that I am not a spendthrift. I'm not a reckless person. So that's just to say that it actually gets more difficult in climes like ours as children grow older, as your family, widens, increases as the years pass by. So in as much as I know that I have a responsibility and obligation towards these children as a parent, I also am aware, again, because of maybe education and all that I have seen experientially from other people's lives, to say that no matter how difficult it is, I must have something that can either continue to earn me income passively for my sake, beyond just for the children. So it's that. I have a head knowledge of that. Perhaps even my heart, agrees to it. But the reality, however, of it is that I may not be able to match, if I am to sincerely save the kind of money for my husband and I that should match the kind of future we envisage, then something has to give. And something has to give will be at the detriment of our kids right now. So, sometimes they're like, what, why not the best of today?
So make the best of where I was going, Bolu.
Yeah.
You've arrived at where we're going. So you something would have to give, and you've hit it. You said, well, unfortunately, that thing that will have to give would have to be part of what we need to provide for them. Now, you have not let yourselves let that thing about what you need to provide for them give, so that you can save. You go ahead and prepare the children. And then tomorrow, Look, let's get this straight, please. I am not an advocate of parents should depend on their children. I am not. I don't depend on mine. Okay? And I don't have any baby children anymore, so to say. Okay? I tease my first daughter and the husband. I'm like, you guys, when last did you even say that okay, it's your birthday. Okay, this is greeting card. And they will laugh. Because that's the other aspect of this whole thing. Some children believe that their parents have. Okay? And because they have, why should we bother with? No, it has nothing to do with whether your parents have or not. It should have nothing to do with that. And now to worsen that situation, if it's not a case that you know that your parents do not have, and your excuse for not reaching out to them is that where I live, people save for their old age, they have pension. Is that the same situation that, obtains where your parents are at? Those are some of the issues those are some of things we should look into before coming to this conclusion of your children should not be your pension. Why would your children not be your pension where there's even no pension where you are at? So it's heartbreaking. I watched that video, I listened to the conclusions, and it raised more questions than answers. Questions like, is it the responsibility or the making of the parents that now depend on their children, especially maybe the children who are in diaspora, for instance, to have created that environment that would have enabled them to save, to have proper pension? That's question number one. The answer to that is in the wind, is no. Okay? We have within those environments unstructured, unmonitored, unmaintained, okay, savings programs. Like we've said at the beginning of the program, you don't even have anything called pension if you don't work within the public sector. If you are not a civil servant or a public servant, there's nothing called pension. You don't have. If you work within the private sector, you don't have. And I stand to be corrected. I still believe that you have more people who work in the private sector in places like Nigeria than the people who work for government. So your parents have toiled, they have sent you to school, you've graduated, you've managed somehow, whether they're the ones who sent you abroad or you found your way in diaspora. They are now, they can't work anymore. They're not earning any salaries anymore. And you arrive in a place where the things are in place for you to start saving from the very day you start working, and then you know what you are going to get at a specific time, and you now begin to compare. And you now begin to blame your parents for not planning their lives. Your parents are not the government. Their parents are not the economic planners of your country. They didn't plan that. It wasn't up to them. And just like Bolu said, imagine if your parents actually were putting some money together, but then we are going to go to the university. Things have changed. Prices of things have gone up. They now have to go and take from their savings to pay for you to go to that university. And you've gone to the university, you are finished. And then you now leave the country, or you now go to the big city. You will now be a big boy, a big girl, and suddenly you see your parents as problems. No, please. No, please. Okay. Sorry. No, please. It's an appeal. This is not, we are not blaming, we are not, chastising, and we're just saying let's sit back and look at, first of all, our culture in Africa. Yeah, Bolu hesitated to say Africa the other time, so Nigeria. In Africa, most cultures in Africa are built on family. Is that still that concept of family? When we understand the concept of family, we know that we do not leave family members, the extended family concept. You don't leave family members alone to go hungry, not to talk about your biological parents. So much so now that the excuse will not be, oh, I live in a place, can't you see where I live? When parents, as parents are working, they are saving money, they are making 401ks and all of that, they are putting that. Why is it 40 whatever K in Nigeria for anybody to see? Where? Bolu, I watched one video about shares, because we are talking about structural issues here that have impacted, that are still impacting families. Okay. I watched one video, I don't want to mention the persons that were in the video, about shares, bank shares actually specifically. Some people are lamenting they bought shares for so amount by the time, and they spend money. Some of them actually went to borrow money from banks to buy shares. And so much years down the road, those shares are depreciated so much they are not even worth the paper that the dividends are written on. Let's assume that's your parent. Those are your parents. Young man, young woman in diaspora who is saying your parents should have left enough. They invested. But think about the system within which they live and move and try to exist. Is it the cost? Yes, there are cost issues globally, but then the cost issues in Canada here is not the same thing as cost issues in. Money still has some respect for itself, and the goods you buy with the money here, a little bit, yes. I saw a video again. I keep referring to a video. Yes, all of us are living on social media now. I saw a video, and it's a picture, a post of SMA. It's a baby formula. It's 10,900 or so for one pack. Bolu, is that true? Hello, Bolu.
So, sorry, dial back. I didn't hear that.
SMA baby formula, 10,900.
Oh, okay. The other day I saw a father, in the supermarket, and the frantic look on his face, confusion as to which baby formula to take. He saw a cheaper one, and he kept asking his wife, reading out all the formulas that were in front of him. There's this one, this is what it says, something way, soy, kiniko. Why can't you buy this one? Why are we buying this one? And I couldn't help laughing. It wasn't funny, but I said to him that thank you that I'm no longer in that bucket. Yeah, I remember that my kids take no lie in Jesus' name. I rejected. Oh my goodness. But seriously though, I was like, I remember that my kids were taking Aptamil, all of them, until my last son, because they say it's closest to breast milk. Only for this boy to just refuse. And I was used to buying things in carton. Hey, blood of God, I almost ran mad. How can I have 2-3 cartons of Aptamil still left, and this boy is refusing to take Aptamil? This is just to say that we want the best for our kids at every point in time. And I think that we need to communicate that to them as they grow older, that in the same vein, they should want the best for you as parents. This is not to emotionally cajole them or even blackmail them into, like wanting to help you. But it's our shared humanity that we're trying to protect. That's really what it is. It's our shared humanity we're trying to protect. Because if you can use such language and vocabulary for people that are your parents, that that next to God are the ones that care the most for you, I don't know how you can have a healthy marriage in the future. I don't know how you will not see yourself as a separate entity from your spouse. The domino effect is terrifying if you think about it. That's not the kind of environment that we want to have. That's not the kind of humanity we want to achieve.
And Bolu, thank you very much for that perspective. And that's what we mean by, giving is bonding. Okay, it's it's not even giving and receiving. Giving, we are taught to give. It brings families together. Okay, look at how you just put it now. Can you begin to imagine what kind of relationship you have with your spouse? You begin to think, and that is it. You begin to say, this is my own, this is your own. And then you don't have a family. And then you don't have a family. When you begin to say your parents should have saved so that money they used to send you to school, they should have put it somewhere for their old age. Is that what you're saying? That's what brought up the issue of the SMA 10,900, right? Okay. How much? What is the minimum wage in Nigeria? And how many days would a baby feed on a tin of baby formula? 10,900. Even pap ogi now is not cheap. So your parents have done all of those. This is where I'm going. I'm not blaming anyone. This is what we're saying here. Giving is part of our culture as Africans. It helps us to bond. It helps us to continue with that family, sense of family. It helps us to do that. It helps us to look out for our family members. Our relations don't need to come to our home and we say, well, we didn't know you are coming, so we didn't prepare food we didn't put your mouth in the pot. No. If there's anything like put your mouth in the pot, no. We will share what we have. And in that sense, please, my brothers, my sisters in diaspora that will come across this video, well, it's a live stream. Usually it will be edited and we would upload it to our YouTube channel. There will be a video there. Please, don't keep copying the wrong things. Don't keep copying the wrong things. You are living now in a situation, in an environment where things are structured. The people who put those structures in place, they work towards it. They put systems in place to sustain them. Is that the same thing that obtains where your parents are? Is that the same thing that obtains where your parents are? No, it's not. I will answer for you. It's not. I will give you an example with myself. Until I left Nigeria to be here in Canada, I never worked for anyone. I was an employer of labor. But I paid personal taxes and business taxes. But I was not, I'm not qualified for any kind of pension in Nigeria, no. I've lived in Canada now here for just a few years. But for the reason that I have worked, I pay my tax, and I'm qualified for pension. And I don't need to ask for it. I don't need, what I mean by I don't need to ask for it, I don't need to go and queue up anywhere. By rights, the appropriate government agencies send documents, okay, do you want to start collecting your pension? You are qualified. If that criteria, yes, you're qualified, you can apply for it, you can fill this form and return it, we'll start sending your pension so time. Is that what happens where your parents are? No. Because it happens here, or whichever country in which you live, don't begin to behave or believe or act as if your parents were not sensible in training you, in spending their earnings on educating you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Look out for caring for your parents as an obligation. I don't even want to go to the religious aspect of this whole story. Let's remain with the culture and tradition. It's an obligation. Our parents brought us up. as they were bringing us up, if you look deep enough, if you grew up, if you came into the world to meet your grandparents, you will see that those same parents that brought you up still were reaching back to give to their own parents, one way or the other. Money, foodstuff, whatever. They were still reaching out as they were giving to you, as they were training you, catering for you, caring for you. They were at the same time reaching out to their own parents. So who are you copying? What are you learning from? By quoting, they should have prepared for their pension. They should not depend on you to take care of them. Who should they depend on? Oh, some parents don't even see. Somebody in that video, the lady said, oh, we know about it. I work in a care place. Sometimes children don't even see their parents for like 2-3 years. And that is what we should copy. Bolu said it the other time here on this program, earlier on this program, that sometimes it's not even the money. Bolu, are we right?
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely. Sometimes it's not even the money. It's just, you just feel like a total stranger, because I've seen it happen before my eyes. How you feel so ostracized, you now feel like dirt, literally. Like when a child makes you feel like dirt, that you're something that should be avoided. You come up almost like you are disgracing them. Like even in conversation, you don't want to be able to say, that's my father, that's my mom. It's no.
Okay. As we begin to round up on this episode, on this edition of the program, but what would be your closing remarks? I think we had some technical issues that hindered both Professor Yewale to continue with us, and then Mrs. Ishola to also couldn't continue with the program. So what would be your closing remarks on this episode of the program, Bolu?
I think my remark would just be what you have said, to say this is not an indictment. It's not a court ruling. It's not we're not playing judge, jury, executioner. No, that's not it at all. This is us just saying that, appealing to our humanity, appealing to who we should be at the core. And this just, again, the ripple effect is much. So I'll use the word I urge you I'll rather challenge you, but then perhaps I should be urging us, everyone, to do right by the people that love them. And the truth of the matter is that we even have to go a step further. Even if your parents were the sort that did not even care for you, did not pay attention to you, neglected you, whatever it is, traumatized you even, do right by them still. My father always says that it's better to risk loving someone and not being loved back in return than to go through the pain of not even knowing what it is to love someone. That just simply means that we are built for love. We are built to give love. Receiving love is great, but that's the easy part. Giving love is where the real work is.
Thank you so very much, Bolu. And thank you, friends, followers, and subscribers to the Slow Parenting program on Nostalgia Media. That's it for our show today. We always get a little bit emotional about some of these things because we are talking, it's a human thing, it's not, we are not looking at things that are not part of us or we are not part of. Please, my brothers, my sisters in diaspora that have parents back in Africa, back in Asia, back in wherever it is that you have your parents staying at, once you know that your parents need your help, don't begin to, please don't begin to look for excuses for which you cannot. Let's go back to the story that Professor Yewale, related at the beginning of this program. He has a friend whose sons believe that, why should they help their father? And it took something as, well, not much as $150 a month to send to the old. It's a lot. It's a lot. Even the thought of it, this is from my son, this is from my daughter. That's on the one side. On the other side, your parents might even really have. They might not even really need for you to send them, but please send to them. You are compelled to. It's a command. You need, not from me. No. You are compelled to care for your parents, even if they are millionaires. That message, that gifts, you don't know what it means. I used to have people who are close to me, and they said, Daddy, what can we bring to you? Have everything. I'm like, no, please, I don't have. People who have everything, they don't even tell them they have everything, not to talk about me. What do I have? No, that shouldn't be our position. Not now to talk of those of us who really know that we have parents, we have relations who cannot care for themselves. Let's not begin to measure how things are in the West as against how they are. If we really have to do those measurements, let's not be partial in making those measurements. Those structures that are in place in the West that for which you are using as measuring rods, they are not available where your parents are at. They couldn't have created their own pension schemes. Yes, you want to hear it, I will say it. Their pension scheme was you. It's you. They put their life savings in you. So don't shy away from where here our parents are contributed. They have no. You are their pension. It's not a position I like, but unfortunately, since you are comparing systems, the system in which you grew up, in which your parents brought you up, you were the pension they had to invest in. The sure pension they invested in. It is you. So please don't deny them of drawing from their pension by your comparing systems, by your feeling they are disturbing you. They are not disturbing you. They did not disturb you when they fed you, trained you, nurtured you to become the man, the woman you are. And if you listen to Bolu earlier on, even if they did not, yes, even if for any reason they did not, they failed in one way or the other, they are not the ones who brought you up. Even if that were to be true, honor your parents. Whether they have, whether they don't have, that's who we are. That's our culture. As Africans, that's our culture. That's our tradition. As Christians, that's our command. Honor your father and your mother, so that what? Your days may be long. Are you looking for having prolonged life? Respond to the needs of your parents. Okay? That's it for our show today. Thank you so much for being with us. Okay? And it's at the same time every week, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. It is the Slow Parenting Program. You can follow us, okay, on our social media platforms handles, okay, and then of course you can always also go to follow us live every Wednesday on YouTube, okay. I saw one or two people or persons in the waiting room on Zoom for this program, but then I'm sorry to say that for this program, for the Zoom component of it is only for the resource persons. If you want to join us live on this program, please go to our YouTube channel. It's streamed live on YouTube. But if you missed it, okay, if you missed this edition, you can always go to our YouTube channel and find the videos there. You also find videos of previous editions and previous episodes. If you have any issues, comments, or questions about parenting, please go to our comment section in any of our social media platforms or handles and just leave those questions there. We do respond, okay? We do respond. So till we come your way again next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. Stay blessed. Take care of your parents. Bye-bye.
the best or the most noble of mirroring that we do modeling, sometimes they veer off. I know that there are exceptions.
Focus on quality time rather than the other type of parenting where you wake up.
The original Nigerian pepper soup. I tell you, like it, you love it.
That's fish soup right there, man. Get that. That's very good. It's super spicy, super tasty.
You can put the authentic African stuff.